For the Jewish version of Where's Waldo, we are now playing Where is Hanok? So, Mr. Hanok, uh, I don't know that you play the guitar or the ukulele, but I do
No,
see it behind you. So,
yeah, that,
you have been known to play the blinds, so that's
yeah, so,
something there.
yeah, yeah, you're killing me today. I'm in Brandon, Florida.
Okay.
Um, you know, Yesterday was one of those exciting travel days of, driving to the airport in Cleveland and Cleveland to Baltimore and Baltimore to Tampa and Tampa to, dun, 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 just, kind of bouncing around. Um, the good news is I will be here in Florida for a week.
Oh,
Numerous presentations
yeah.
here. I'll be speaking at a Baptist church in Tampa next
Wow.
week as well. So yeah, I don't have to get on a plane. I did. The trip has really just gotten started. I've spoken to two groups, two locations in Kentucky,
Yeah.
and I had a great group in Ohio, and here I am in sunny Florida.
Wow.
Um, Unfortunately, I kind of missed this step walking down when I was in Kentucky, and I hyperextended my right knee. So if you know, so if anyone like has any local orthopedists, physical therapists, chiropractors, witch doctors, anything like that, would work out fine.
So we just add another level to our Where's Hanok and what is he injured this time?
Yeah, this is
Just
it's always seems to be something.
yeah,
Uh,
it is. So
two things going on, and I'll kind of put both of them out there, and then we can continue with our conversation. Of course, tonight is Tisha B'Av, the
yeah,
ninth day of Av.
yeah.
It is a fast. It is the most solemn, somber day on our calendars. Um, so you've got that going on, of course. And then at the same time, you have the issue of the proposed judicial reforms in Israel, which are at a fever pitch. But more to speak about that is not um, the actual proposed reforms and what it might mean and what it won't mean or would not likely mean, but more so the disinformation. As I travel around and speak
Hmm.
to people, I find that someone told them that Ehud Barak, former prime minister from years ago, is staging a coup d'etat right now in the streets of Israel.
Hmm, I miss that.
No, that's not happening. Then this was really cool. You know the way when people ask us about Israel, Mike, we give them, jpost.com and Ynet News. Okay. Because no, I don't read any news. Okay, so then you're left with someone interpreting the news for you, which is where you're getting the disinformation.
Hmm. Well,
And then I'm not used to getting the response of, so tell me everything. If you're not even going to read the Israeli news article,
yeah,
no, Mr. Hanoch in someone else's neighborhood is not going to spend his time
yeah,
telling you all about it.
yeah, yeah. It is, but in the end, Hanok, I guess probably I'm as confused as anyone because even if you go to J Post and various ones, and if you listen to Fox News, the news report the other night was just I was in the end scratching my head because it's so difficult to get the interpretation of the interpretation of the interpretation knowing a little bit about the players. So is there any way you can give us a a basic nutshell of what is
Sure.
going on.
Okay. The coalition government of Netanyahu is the prime minister, has proposed to change the structure and function of our high court,
Okay.
what the Americans would call the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
We have a bizarre system where sitting judges can be part of the decision making of who the next judges on the court are. Again, I
Okay.
think once on our update, I gave the example in America of having Clarence Thomas decide who the next Supreme Court justices
Right.
are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We also have a bizarre element that the Supreme Court justices could shoot down legislation voted on in our Knesset, in our parliament. That's a really bizarre situation where you've got the Supreme Court, which is not responsible to the electorate, shutting down, in effect, the government of Israel. So you've
Okay.
got that on one side. On the other side, though, you've got Benjamin Netanyahu, that even people that voted for him don't necessarily trust him.
Yeah.
He's always a wheeler dealer playing the shell game. But on top of that, so you've got some who say, the leftists say Netanyahu wants to become a dictator.
Right.
That is patently absurd. However, as our listeners know, I don't like him. I
Yeah.
don't trust him,
Yeah.
and I really wish he was not our prime minister. That creates a miss. Now, then you've got the average person in the street who doesn't read beyond the headline.
Yeah.
So they're out there demonstrating. And it's gotten to be sort of a fever pitch on the one hand of we have to save Israel's democracy. And the other hand, it says to save Israel, we've got to reform the high court. And it's basically like playing a double-barreled Russian roulette game.
Mm.
The thing that's most interesting is that these demonstrations, which have gone on and off for 30 weeks, now they've really accelerated into a series of national strikes. So you'll have, all the malls closed down,
Yeah.
and you've got some of our reservists, again, to be in the reserves in Israel after your regular army service is volunteer. So you've got Air Force pilots in the volunteer reserves who are saying, we're not showing up for reserve duty, which is incredibly dangerous for Israel's security. B, strengthens our enemies. Nasrallah of Hezbollah gave a statement the other day that Israel is imploding upon itself, and they actually have decided. I was reading this in the Israeli press, that it's been reported that Hezbollah, Hamas, and Iran are actually holding off on attacks right now. That way, not, in other words, letting us kind of, gnaw on each other, chew
Hmm.
each other up, because if they attack, all of a sudden we'll become a united society again.
Correct.
So it's crazy. And it's crazy that this is going on right now, Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av,
Hmm.
which we're commemorating and in effect causing ourselves to suffer. No water, no food, prayers. We're talking about a 25-hour period, because at the time of the Second Temple, Jewish factions in Jerusalem were fighting a civil war
Yeah.
as the Romans were at the gates.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're doing now. It is not a civil war right now. Could it degenerate to it? It's possible.
Yeah.
But again, when I'm getting all these notes saying, I heard, I don't know who's
Yeah.
saying stuff. But
So a couple of
yeah,
questions for you here. And of course, okay, Ninth of Av,
yeah,
we believe goes back to the 10 spies who came back with a
yes,
divisive report. Okay, we could
correct.
term it that way.
Very
First
much
and
so.
second temples destroyed. Second temple because of baseless hatred. Uh, a side note here, I saw a post by Moshe Kempinski that the part of the thing with the reservists not showing it, specifically pilots, was some type of a possible hack in the WhatsApp, some kind of notification. Did you see that?
No, no,
Okay, so this is possible that some of these reservists are not showing up because of some disinformation that's going on out there. Wow, wouldn't that be an interesting thing for
yeah,
the enemies of Israel to be able to do? So with all of that, excuse my ignorance if this is ignorant. Um, the current Supreme Court, could we say that is based similar to the power of the Sanhedrin, which, in my understanding, had the ultimate authority regarding the rulings of Israel. However, it was supposed to be based upon Torah rulings. So when you give that ultimate authority to those who may or may not be following Torah, you can come up with some erroneous rulings. Would that be anything close to what's going on?
no.
Okay,
And I'll tell you why.
okay. I just wanted to
Because at
throw
the
it out
time
there
of
and
the
see. That
at
that
the
was a
time of
new
the
thought to me.
Sanhedrin,
That was a new thought,
okay,
so I
at
wanted
the
to, instead of hearing
right,
it from somebody else, I wanted to get your
no, no.
thoughts.
At the time of the Sanhedrin,
Okay.
there was no elected body. We had nothing
Yeah.
equivalent to
Yeah.
the Knesset.
Yeah.
We had a monarch
Yeah.
or someone who was appointed. At the end of the Second Temple period, had we had Roman,
Sorry about the connection today, folks.
officials rule the children with 70 leading. You hear me?
Okay.
Boy, what
You,
a time
you
to
need
go
you need to,
unstable
yeah,
all of a
yeah.
sudden.
Start that thought over again because connections
Okay,
are kind of crazy today.
okay, okay. We had no equivalent of the Knesset
Okay, yeah.
back at that time. The Sanhedrin were the 70 religious leaders of our country, the best and the brightest men we had.
Okay.
They were the body. It wasn't like they were a body overlooking, an elected group of officials as the Knesset is today. So in no way, shape, or form is our high court anything like a Knesset.
Okay.
Again, it's much more so like the American Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But again, our elected systems and the way our laws are shaped in Israel is a strong influence when the British government occupied our country,
Hmm.
1917 to 1948. We have some laws on the books from the Ottoman Turks. We have some things coming, I would say, influenced by Jewish law, by
Hmm.
halacha. So it's a whole, sort of mixed bag of things.
Hmm. So it seems like with the current judicial system that the Supreme Court having the the authority to overturn laws and having the authority to put in other people, to succeed them, that does seem like a bit of a more power than people should have.
Yeah. So and that's why when people would say to me, "So where do you stand on this?"
Hmm.
On the one hand, the court needs to be reformed. On the
Yeah.
other hand, do you make such a major change in society based on a slim majority of elected officials.
Hmm.
What I was thinking is that Netanyahu should have kind of co-opted a consensus and made changes incrementally.
Yeah.
Now it seems to have polarized people from one side to the other.
Okay. So what would Mr. Hanok's answer be?
I
Let's
would
say
get,
that the off
yeah,
chance that all of a sudden, the whole population of Israel goes crazy and
said,
elects Mr. Hanok as prime
yeah,
minister. What would happen?
or even if they said, Hanoch, just give us some, advice from Florida of how we can straighten this whole thing out. I would get all of the principals, which would mean the heads of the various political parties. I'd get them all in a room and say, y'all aren't leaving, not even a bathroom break, and we're not even giving you water until you figure out how to reform the system without alienating,
Hmm.
close to 50% or more of the population.
So these are things that were put in place in back in 1948.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
this is for the start of the state 75 years ago.
Okay. So this is basically like, in my mind, okay, there were things that were placed in the Constitution. There were amendments made, and at times the states need to come together to, but it needs to be ratified in a sensible way. Um, and normally, mobs in the street, the Book of Proverbs actually talks about that, of staying away from. Um, Mobs in the street normally don't make the right decisions.
Yeah. It's you've got a bad dynamic. The only thing that's interesting is the demonstrations for and against these proposed reforms. Everyone's carrying an Israeli flag.
Hmm.
And that's what's like real, because everyone thinks or believes or wants to believe that it's all for the benefit of the state of Israel.
Hmm.
Now, on the one hand, you've got the left wing, those that oppose the reform, that are blocking the Ayalon highway in Tel Aviv, blocking streets, things like that. The right wing has not been doing that, has not been shutting things down.
Hmm.
I know people who have appointments and interviews and things they need to do that have had to be rescheduled because of congestion of
Yeah.
streets being closed down.
Yeah.
It's really an awkward situation.
Hmm. It's to see people doing this. I mean, we've seen it in America. America has we've talked about this before. You have, America has no place to even start to point a finger toward Israel, because of, look at what's happened in America over the last few years.
That's
But
the part that's so strange.
oh yeah, yeah, it is to me. I mean, that one kind of makes my blood boil. Um, to see, again, Fox News, which, I don't trust any news agency, because
Right.
uh, everyone has an agenda. Okay, there's no one that's it's impossible for a human being to come to an argument or a discussion without bias. It's not going to happen. But Fox News is known as the most conservative out there of the cable network kind of stuff. They're, Bibi Netanyahu's extreme right wing government. They're trying to make Netanyahu look like something that's a little bit right of Trump, in his extreme. Well, I know that's not true, but if that's where you're getting it, so what you're doing is helping us out here.
Yeah, it is astounding. First of all, again, just to our listeners, I would never listen or read an American news outlet report about Israel.
Hmm.
Never. Because again, I would go to J Post or Ynet News.
Yeah.
America, Joe Biden makes me want to have my head explode. First of all, where does America get off telling us what's right and what's wrong for our democracy? It really, really, really is uncomfortable. Now, on the other hand, you've got the world financial markets that you've got funding for startups that is now leaving Israel
Hmm.
in anticipation of changes regarding our high court. It's really it's a bizarre situation,
Hmm.
really, really bizarre. And
Wow.
again, the fact that this is kind of coming to a culmination at the same time of Tisha B'Av,
Hmm.
where again, if you remember back to 2005, the disengagement, Israel's unilateral withdrawal from Gaza occurred on the 10th of Av. Originally, it was scheduled for the 9th of Av,
Yeah.
not intentional. And then someone looked at the calendar and said, oops, that'll
Yeah.
be bad. So they started it the next day.
I mean, this is that time is ingrained in my memory. Being
Yeah.
there just a couple weeks prior to the pull out of Gaza, um, being at the wall, I was actually at the promenade, overlooking the wall,
Yeah.
hearing the prayers, uh, heart wrenching, heart wrenching prayers, and the people that were trying to do something in the end, believing with everything they had that there's no way that Jews would take Jews out of the land of the Jews. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just ironic that this could happen. And now to see what Gaza has turned into, going from the beauty and the produce and the technology, known as the Riviera of Israel, and
Yeah.
to be now a basically a slum.
A slum filled with rockets and missiles.
Yeah, yeah. There's no doubt about that. So, okay, so you're in Brandon. You're of course talking about the history of Israel. A lot of the modern. How far back are you
Well,
going? Okay, I'm
okay.
going to miss
Okay.
your presentation here because I'm leaving when you're coming to town.
Right. It's actually a presentation dealing with terms like West Bank. We
Yeah.
hear terms like 67 borders. We hear terms like two-state solution. It's really delving into that and explaining it in such a way that it becomes really clear.
Hmm.
And in some cases, I use maps. Um, but it's a really straightforward presentation. The only pushback that I've gotten has been from those who do not care about Israel at all. And I
Hmm.
have to tell you, if you don't care about Israel at all, don't come and hear me speak.
Yeah.
Really, it's going to be a really unpleasant experience for you.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not the best, you probably want to go see if you don't care about Israel, go see Barbie movie or something. That would be the best thing. Um and I do want to make a statement. I was quoting someone last week who was talking about where our love for Israel came from and got a comment on that. Understand, I was quoting someone, okay? I believe that a love for Israel is a divine revelation, but how Hashem uses the paths he uses for that divine revelation come to us in many ways.
Right.
And for some of those, it is deeper. For some of those, it is shallow. And this
Yeah.
is my point in quoting a mutual friend from Israel.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Yeah,
It's yeah. Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. Again, this is, we're all being sorted out.
yeah, yeah.
This is the time of choice.
So if someone wants to come and hear you, they go to coleyehuda.com, right?
Right? All of my engagements are listed, the contact numbers, the addresses, and of course the days and times.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Well, knowing you, you probably want to spend more time playing the blinds and the guitar, which is what I would be doing
Yeah,
because, yeah, I know, I don't, you probably have some musical ability. You can at least sing.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been known to
Yeah.
be
As opposed
afraid,
to,
be very
yeah,
afraid.
as opposed to I don't. So, well, hey, have
Yeah.
fun out there and
Thanks, man.
enjoy the heat. It's kind of like Masada and the Amazon forest put together.
Yeah, it's not just hot, it's humid. I
Yeah.
love it.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mike. Take care. Bye-bye.